Champions Cup quarter-final number 1, folks. Northampton heading to Bath with a stronger squad than the one they fielded last week, with a number of guys back from injury. Bath, they've made a bunch of changes. Not injury enforced, just Van Graan doing a bit of rotation, but we'll go through the squads which have been named. Some of the key stats, particularly from last week's and predictions, and you guys can let us know your thoughts. We'll start with Bath. It's a funny situation where the most exciting player I'm looking to come off the bench and change the game is Thomas du Toit from the bench, because he was an absolute game changer for Bath last week. You think he'll be looking to turn the screws when he comes on and certainly bolster the way they scrum, but that's a consistent pick from last week. The changes are the more like Ajomo's out, Thokana Singer's out despite busting 7 tackles last week. He was a wrecking ball. Van Graan, as I mentioned, has rotated things. Obano and Dunn are still there. Sella comes into the 23 at tight head. And Yules and Rue are still there. So the type 5 is largely unchanged. And as I said, seeing the likes of a du Toit come off the bench will be fun to see if it changes the picture at scrum time or adds some dominance or that kind of thing, like we saw last week against Saracens. Guy Pepper's there at 6. He switches positions because Underhill's up from the bench at 7. Pepper was one of the good news stories in terms of their turnovers. Won last week because Bath didn't win many. They won 3. Guy Pepper won 2. So 2 of their 3 turnovers. You would think they would like to up those numbers this week because, 3's kind of on the low side. Miles Reid likewise up from the bench at 8. Spencer and Russell are the same 9-10 combo. You would expect them to pull the strings. As always, Spencer captains the side. They'll be kicking a lot off 9 like they did last week. And then Redpath gets the nod ahead of Ajomo at 12. Maybe looking to defensively shore things up, I'm not sure, but Lawrence will be doing some of those big devastating carries from 13, you would think. And then Arundel switches wings. He's on the right wing this week. 3 line breaks from him last week. He was very dangerous. Will Muir's on the other wing with Tom de Glanville coming into the 23 at fullback, which sees Santi Carreras drop to the bench. They have got some firepower from the bench, not just Thomas du Toit. Alfie Barbary is there, Van Fake is there, Tupolotu is there, Ted Hill is there. So, it is a pretty deep and powerful looking Bath squad. For the Saints, they've got a bunch of players back. It's good to see Yogan's back on the bench. Miller Mills is there on the bench. Hendy's back. Mitchell's back. Finn Smith is back. A lot of players back available. So the squad is just generally looking in a better position than it was last week. Fischetti is still there. That guy played well. Langdon's promoted from the bench. The 2 locks are still the same. Kemeny was tackling the house down last week with 20 tackles. Pearson's up from the bench, and Pollock, just like Pepper for his side, Pollock won 2 turnovers for his side last week, although his side generally won more turnovers than Bath did last week, but Pollock's been good on the turnover all season. McParland and Smith, the 9-10 combo, they'll likely be doing a fair bit of kicking off 9 as well. Dingwall and Hutchinson is also a changed midfield, with Hutchinson getting promoted this week. Freeman, Slightholme, and Furbank, the back 3. I think Freeman had a pretty good outing the last time he played Bath. Scored a hat-trick, and then Furbank, despite the fact that he's leaving at the end of the season, man, he was good last week. Very silky, couple of line breaks, beat some defenders. Real handful player at fullback. As I mentioned, the bench is stronger with the Yogan and Miller Mills there. Craig Ryder's there. Callum Chick drops to the bench. Mitchell's got the experience to, either chase a game or see a game out from 9. Still no Trevor Davis and Alex Coles. Those are the kind of 2 big names out from a Northampton perspective. Stats-wise, well, last week was interesting because, as I said, Bath didn't win that many turnovers. They only won 3 in their 31-22 win over Sarries, and it was the scrum getting bolstered by the bench that helped Bath win that game 31-22 in the end. But 3 turnovers, 1 is low. Sarries won 8 against them, and Northampton won 8 in their game last week. So, it's certainly going to be an area of hot contest. For Northampton, they scored a bunch of points last week, 49, but they conceded 41 and conceded 12 line breaks, which is way, way too high. They'll need those numbers to be lower. Bath have got some attacking threats. If you give them 12 line breaks, they will score a lot of points as well. Neither side's line-out was that flash last week, but Northampton's was a little bit worse, so they'll like those numbers to be better than 76%. And Bath will like to keep the discipline a bit better because they got double-digit penalties conceded last week with 10. It is on at the Rec. It is an evening kickoff, 8 o'clock, I think, local time, which is perfect for me in New Zealand because that's 7 o'clock Saturday morning. All the other Champions Cup quarterfinals are on at horrendous kickoff times for me, but I'll be looking forward to that one. It is made a little bit spicier because the last time they played was a pretty emphatic Northampton win. 41-21 Christmas time last year. So, yeah, different teams then, but still does add a little bit to the spice. That being said, Bath are favourites. 10 points, say the bookies. 8 points, says the Rugby Forecast algorithm. It is number 1 and number 2 in the Premiership against each other. So it should be a really, really interesting match. I'm very much looking forward to it. You guys let us know your thoughts. How do you reckon this one is going to go? Take care, and I will talk to you guys again soon. See you later.